Just walking past through the show and stopped off to talk to Clifton Bradeley from Super Health. Yeah. And we were just chatting a little bit about orthotics for cycling, and actually they're as important for cycling as they are for things like running.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of cyclists traditionally don't think that orthotics are useful for cycling shoes. But if you think about it, if you've got asymmetry in leg length, you've got asymmetry in leg length in whatever you do. So if you talk to some of the big teams like the Sky Cycle team and some of the medical staff involved with Sky Cycling or indeed any team, they'll talk about leg length as a big causative factor of sports injuries. So, for example, a typical thing that would happen with a leg length inequality on a bike is on the long side, you drop the heel and flex that knee a little bit more. And if you've got a pelvis which is rotated backwards, which is a common compensation mechanism with a leg length inequality, the knee might drift towards the frame, which is a common cause of injury. On a short leg, for example, the leg will extend, it will straighten quicker, so you're going to be pressing on that forefoot. And often people will notice that they get more forefoot pain on one side or more knee problems on the other side. So it is a big factor.
Yeah, because I mean, coming from the background of a fitness instructor, we teach classes which are on stationary bikes, and although they're not the real thing, they're still effectively giving us the same motor sensation through the legs and working the same muscles, and we're prone to the same injuries, right?
Yeah. Well, if you think about the evolutionary side of it, you know, nature didn't have a geometry set. So our ancestors had a bigger leg length inequality than we do today. On the planet, we have an average of about 7 millimeter difference in leg length. And strangely enough, more people have a longer left leg than right. And the Americans are starting to call it the short right leg syndrome. But I've been looking at leg length inequality for about 25 years because it was a leg length inequality that finished my international running career. But if you think we've got two arms, we've got two legs, so if you've got a pair of something and you're involved in gait, whether it be walking or running or stance, they need to function symmetrically. Because you've got this cantilever ability of the leg, the ankle, the knee, the hip flexes and extends. The pelvis rotates or should rotate symmetrically. And what we found is that most of our clients have asymmetry in that mechanism, and I think it's the biggest cause of repetitive injury. So we've been looking at things like this. This is a digital pelvic inclinometer, and on the little motherboard there's an accelerometer. So we measure the asymmetry in the pelvis, relate it to the body models. What I mean by that is I'm a slightly ectomorphic body type. You might get someone who's mesomorphic, and their center of mass behaves very differently depending on your leg length. So you can have 2 or 3 different body types, all with the same long left leg, for example, of the same magnitude of about 7 millimeters, but they'll all behave very, very differently. And what this kind of technology, this kind of biomechanical innovation does is understands why the injury that they are having fits to their particular compensation mechanism associated with their body type. So by getting to the origin of that injury and the first domino that fell over in the formation of that injury, you've got a much better chance of giving that individual a longer cessation of their symptoms. So getting to the root cause is the secret to get rid of injuries, but it's a big issue.
I mean, for group exercise instructors, you can read on the forums and you can read on certain blogs, and people are mentioning that they're getting, you know, pain, discomfort, tightness in their ankles and, you know, in their knees or the quadriceps. Can you give us a rundown of common sort of complaints that people have and their root causes? Just a brief summary.
Well, I think the first thing is, first of all, to comment about the way that many really good practitioners are treating people. They're treating the morphology, so they're very good at describing what an injury looks like and how it behaves and anecdotal treatments. But what I think a lot of practitioners aren't very good at is getting to that root cause, thinking laterally out of the box. You know, what's the first domino that fell over? And typical injuries that you would get if you've got a leg length inequality and your whole system's functioning asymmetrically, whether it be walking, running or cycling, is Achilles tendinosis on one side, a mid-calf problem on the other side, for example, asymmetrical forefoot pain, arch pain, one knee, whether it be the outside or the anterior, the front part of the knee, giving you trouble, one hamstring always getting tight or breaking down, one hip flexor on one side that's got problems, sacroiliac joint discomforts, one arm or shoulder, or even one temporomandibular joint, or the neck or the shoulder being asymmetrical.
And this stems all the way up from the actual beginnings of your movement, which is with the foot, right?
Well, if you think about it, the feet are the only thing in contact with the planet. You've got gravity at 9.81 meters per second squared pulling you down. We became bipedal on 2 legs about 16 million years ago, and the rules are the same for everyone. You've got gravity pulling you down, meeting Newton's third law. The problem today is we live in a geometric world, especially if you live in a modern society. where you've got concrete with high energy return and it's geometric, and your eyes are parallel to the ground, or you have this twist in between. And the secret to good function is getting the sacral base at the base of the spine symmetrical with those two parallels in the middle. And most people are slightly twisted and rotated up on one side. So it's really, really important to understand what your mechanics are. But it's really important to get that contact with the planet or with the pedal right. So I've also got this feeling that most of the ways that we're correcting foot function on the bike by wedges and little wedges and different things underneath the cleat, well, the foot doesn't know that there's anything there. You might be altering the mechanics of the shoe in relationship to the bike, but you're not altering your mechanics. So what we do at Sub 4 Health, where we manufacture orthotics and assess people, is on this particular device, this is a cycling device, so it's got no heel post, so it fits nice into the shoe. But this blue bit is a 3-degree, 4-foot varus post, which means it's inverted by about 3 degrees. So it'll be inverted on the right, inverted on the left. Your 4-foot sits on here, and it'll give you more wattage and more power per revolution. This is a little bit of research that I did. It's called a cycle plate, and it was never meant to be a therapeutic device. It was meant to increase wattage per revolution, and I developed it for an Olympic cyclist.
This is the carbon fiber design, right?
Yeah, whereas an orthotic bends at the forefoot, this doesn't. The ball of the foot sits on there. So by cycling, putting power through the forefoot, what it does, it inverts the rear foot by 3 degrees and lines up the subtalar joint axis and the mid-tarsus joint axis. In English, if those two axes cross, it gives you more power per revolution and can just give you a little bit more wattage. Now, it needs to be proved. Now, I moved in research terms and development terms onto the digital pelvic inclinometer, so this has been left behind a little bit. But if any of your listeners or readers want to take that on, I'm happy to let someone develop it and take it to the markets and make some money from it, because it's a great innovation. It's just that I'm a runner, not a cyclist, so really someone who's passionate about cycling could really make something of that,
So I guess to sum up, on a bike, whether you're outdoors or whether you're indoors, you should consider using orthotics, and don't think they're just for your running, because everything that you do from the foot upwards is going to affect the way that your body responds to any sort of resistance.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously I'm a biomechanist and a podiatrist, and I make my living off orthotics and assessments, but if I was going to stay completely neutral and take the commercial side of things out of it, the best advice I can give to your listeners and your viewers is to look at leg length, understand what your leg length is, and put a raise under your short leg. It's really important because it's really destructive. And how you can do that is just take a Yellow Pages, get a flat surface in your dining room or kitchen, for example, open the Yellow Pages up to roughly about 10 millimeters, put it on the floor, place 1 foot on there first of all and stand and see how it feels on your whole posture, how it affects your centre of mass and your pelvis. Step over to the other side, put the other foot on and see if there's a big difference. And if you feel a considerable difference and feel better by standing with the Yellow Pages underneath one side, go and get a biomechanical assessment. We are on www.sub4.co.uk. My name's Clifton Bradeley, and I'll be delighted to advise on that.
There we go. So the link will be right here, so you can check out the website and go to it, find out some more information. And if you can find a Yellow Pages in this digital age, it might be a little bit difficult. Find it, try the test, and see how it feels.